Lately, I've been watching a lot of Marvel movies. Don't ask me why. It's not out of my love for Marvel movies, but I haven't been hate watching them either. To me, MCU movies are just easy watches that I can put on while I'm doing something else. Then I can log it in my letterboxd. Sometimes you'll get a really good one, and other times you'll get Ant-Man and the Wasp. But in my rewatch of MCU movies, I finally got to Infinity War. The MCU movie that most people agree is the best. There's a couple that come close, like Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm personally a pretty big fan of the first Avengers movie. But to me, Infinity War is easily the best MCU movie. And with any great movie, you need a good opening scene. Something that either hooks the audience in right away, or sets up the premise of your film. And Infinity War's opening scene does both these things, and does them excellently. From a plot perspective, and what's literally happening and being set up, to the dialogue, to the action and tension, and even the technical aspects, like the lighting, the colors, and cinematography, Infinity War right from the jump lays the groundwork for a movie the MCU is still trying to top. So let's talk about it. The biggest reason this opening scene works so well is because it establishes Thanos. This movie starts out with a distress call in the opening Marvel Studios card, and it immediately sets the tone. There's no epic Marvel theme playing that you hear in every other Marvel movie. Infinity War throws you in immediately. There's no uplifting music, just people calling for help. This opening is unlike any other Marvel movie. And then we're introduced to Thanos. We see the massive ship, the feet among the dead bodies, the introduction from Ebony Maw, and we see Thanos in all his glory, dragging along Thor's body. Thor, one of the strongest Avengers, just dragged around by Thanos. Then we hear him speak. I know what it's like to lose. To feel so desperately that you're right, yet to fail nonetheless. It's frightening. Turns the legs to jelly. I ask you, to what end? Dread it. Run from it. Destiny arrives all the same. And now it's here. Or should I say, I am. That is a great opening monologue. Thanos is not here for your corny Marvel humor. I'm not the biggest Russo brothers fan, but they got Thanos right. Joss Whedon directed the first two Avengers movies, and while Loki wasn't bad, Ultron is full of corny, quippy, Whedon MCU-style dialogue. We see this jokey style in most Marvel movies, and it can get really annoying. But Thanos is actually giving cool dialogue, and it's great. We do get the occasional Marvel humor in this movie, but Thanos is serious and driven in his goal. He threatens to crush Thor's head in the opening minutes to get Loki to reveal the Tesseract. And I love this shot of him breaking the cube. It's such a cool way to show Thanos' power. The Tesseract was what Loki and the Avengers fought over for the entire first movie, and now Thanos can just crush it in one hand. 2 stones down, 4 to go. For those who watched my Kai video from Kung Fu Panda 3, this is basically what I wanted Kai to be. Thanos hunts down the Infinity Stones, with no jokes and no remorse, on a warpath to complete his goal, so he can watch the sun rise on a grateful universe. We already know from Thanos' introduction that he's gonna be great. His dialogue and writing is so much more serious than what we see in the MCU and previous Avengers movies. While I do love the first Avengers movie, the corniness got way out of control in Age of Ultron, so it is amazing to see a villain as serious, yet quotable and badass as Thanos. But then, we get to see him fight. The Hulk attacks him and they start fighting, and I really like the way this fight is shot. Now this isn't supposed to be a video of me just crapping on Age of Ultron, but I'm gonna do it again. The fights in that movie are weirdly shot, with a lot of cuts and choppy editing. The action in the first Avengers movie is pretty cool, but the action in Age of Ultron isn't anything memorable. But the Russo brothers are pretty good at shooting hand-to-hand combat, with Winter Soldier being another example. They let some shots linger, and I love how the strikes sync up with the score, and how the score swells when Thanos overpowers Hulk and takes control of the fight. The story's not only being told through the action, but through the music as well. And then Thanos takes over the fight and it's badass. They're throwing actual punches and combos. It's not just super suits ramming into each other. It's just a well choreographed hand-to-hand fight. And it ends with Thanos gorilla pressing Hulk like the Ultimate Warrior and slamming him down. One detail that I noticed is how this shot parallels what Hulk did to Loki in the first Avengers movie, and it's a really nice callback through the cinematography to show the power difference between Hulk and Loki, then Thanos and Hulk. This scene presents Thanos as a threat and shows how strong he can be. But there is even more to this opening scene than just Thanos. Now, Marvel movies aren't usually known for their technical aspects. Sure, it's a lot of CGI, but the directing is usually pretty bland. There's nothing groundbreaking done with the camera or the lighting, and the cinematography isn't anything groundbreaking here. But there are a couple cool shots. This opening shot of Ma walking among the dead bodies is cool. We get his opening speech among the bodies and flames, and it really sets the tone through the cinematography that this isn't gonna be a regular Marvel movie. There isn't even any music in this shot, just the sound of the flames and the slow pan following his footsteps. But then the music does kick in, and it's this slow, menacing tone. Then we get a shot of Loki and the lighting looks pretty cool, before the camera pans over to reveal Thanos, where he gives his opening monologue, walking into the light to reveal his face. The Russo brothers are also a lot better at shooting action than Joss Whedon. The cinematography, like most Marvel movies, is nothing Oscar-worthy, but there are some cool shots and some cool lighting and colors in this scene. And I know it's like the bare minimum to praise Marvel for putting color and decent lighting in their movies, but if you look at the other Russo brothers stuff, like Winter Soldier or Civil War, it's pretty gray and dark. So it's CGI color, but it's still something. But what I really want to talk about is the music. The score in this whole movie is pretty good. Most Marvel movies have good scores. The licensed soundtracks can be hit or miss, but the scores are usually reliable. And the score in this opening scene is good too. I love how foreboding it is, playing up Thanos' entrance. Then it flourishes into a faster pace to sync up with the Hulk fight. The way the music builds tension when Thanos presses the stone into Thor's head. From a technical standpoint, with the cinematography, lighting, and score, this opening scene maintains its tense, darker tone and is technically sound. When Thanos presses the Power Stone to Thor's head, Loki reveals he has the Tesseract, and that it wasn't destroyed in Thor Ragnarok. He tells Thor the sun will shine on them again. But when the movie ends, Thanos is the one with the sun shining on him, rising over a grateful universe. A great line, showing the juxtaposition of these characters. After Thanos defeats Hulk and Thor is tied up in the metal and rubble, Hulk is sent away by Heimdall. Thanos kills him after that. Thor tells him he will die for that. Again, more foreshadowing comes in this opening scene, as this line is brought back just before the snap. Then, when Thanos wields the Space Stone, we see Loki in typical Loki fashion trying to weasel his way out. He offers to be a guide, and Thanos brings up Loki's failure in the first Avengers movie. Another nice callback. But when Loki lists his name and titles, we see him look remorseful as he says Odin's son, and he glances over at Thor. Then, right as he says the god of mischief, we see a dagger hidden in his hand. A great touch and attention to detail. He pledges his undying fidelity before trying to stab Thanos. He stops it and the score kicks in as Thanos says, "Undying? You should choose your words more carefully." Nice reference to Heath Ledger's Joker. He grabs Loki by the throat, picking him up and choking him as his theme plays. The same leitmotif when he watches the sunrise at the film's conclusion. In Loki's dying words, he says, "You will never be a god." Thor cries out, and Thanos drops Loki's dead body in front of him, the score morphing into the leitmotif that plays in Gamora's death. Thanos says, "No resurrections this time." A great line, with the film letting you know that Loki is gone for good, which definitely won't be retconned to lessen the significance of this moment in a spin-off Disney Plus show. Thanos and his crew leave. The ship is destroyed, and Thor lays over his brother's body as the ship explodes. The scene ends with Hulk finally arriving on Earth to warn of the Mad Titan. This opening scene does everything to establish what is, in my mind, the best MCU movie. It establishes Thanos, his power and his goals. He's not corny, he doesn't tell jokes. He might have the occasional meme dialogue, but he and the other characters take him seriously as the biggest threat they've ever faced, and that does wonders for the scale and the stakes of this movie. The action and effects look good. There's great foreshadowing through the dialogue, and because of Thanos' presence, there's far less awkward MCU humor. It's not completely non-existent, but Thanos' presence makes it far less common. I think that's why he's such a good villain. Not only does he have great motivations, not only is he powerful, but his presence determines the tone of the movie. When Thanos is on screen, you do not mess around. And then our heroes, Thor and Loki. Again, there's great foreshadowing in their dialogue. Loki's death scene is great. It's an awesome way for his character to go out, and that "no resurrections" line from Thanos is excellent. And Thor is one of the strongest characters in this movie. This scene gives him the motivation, seeing his friend and his brother killed in front of him, while Asgard's ship is wiped out. It gives him all the motivation to avenge them in his journey throughout the film, and makes the ending all the more powerful. I'm not the biggest Marvel guy, but this movie is where the MCU peaked. The scene does everything an opening should, and sets it up for an excellent, fun, blockbuster superhero movie.